okie. Hello, good friends. Even though, there's 5 of you watching and they're probably not my friends. So, I figured I would just update and let you know as to where I am, what I'm doing, and a kind of a recap of the trail. So, I finished the TMB 4 days ago. I've been in the town of Les Houches, which is in the southern part of the Chamonix Valley, since we were supposed to summit, but there's a hole in the back of my pants. Anyway, so we were supposed to finish summit Mont Blanc starting today. However, issues with my feet and issues overall, some weather just didn't happen, and that's okay. I feel a lot better not doing it. Just doing the 105 mile TMB before the summit, I was not expecting how challenging the TMB was. Definitely, it is not your Eastern United States trail at all. There is a lot of steep uphills. There are cols or saddles the height of Mount Washington in New Hampshire. So think about that if you are an East Coaster and never have done higher mountains. When we did the Altavia 2 trail in the Dolomites 3 years ago, it was a pleasant, moderately easy trail to do. There were definitely some steep uphills, but not to the extent that the TMB is. So even, my uncle and I were like, I think this is going to be a one and done trail. So let's see. As a recap, it is between 103 and 107 mile trek, depending on if you take variants or alternate routes. We took one alternate route during our time hiking, which was actually the first day. It was the Col de Trico, or the Col de Trisket, which we dubbed it. And it was a challenge, I guess, for me. I'm not gonna say that I prepped as best as I could, being from the East Coast of the US. But the first day was a bit tough because of the elevation. I had to get used to some of the elevation as well as just some of the steepness, but overall it was a good day. What really started with my feet was the descent from Col de Trico, and that kind of spiraled with my feet a bit, because then I started to get blisters, and then blisters on blisters, and it just depends on the shoes that you wear and how you deal with descents. Now, I should have brought my ultra high top Lone Peaks. That would have been absolutely fine. I brought a heftier boot, a waterproof Loa Renegade boot, which I had hiked in the past. I have done winter peaks in the Adirondack, the Catskills, and then I did peaks in the Adirondacks with the Renegades, and they were fine. It was kind of an eye opener with how my feet were. It is what it is. Oh look, I have an hour till my train. I've been here for almost 3 hours. I'm not complaining. I've had videos to watch, but that's why I figured it was a good time to catch you all up. Let's see. What else? Day 2 was from a refuge called Mont, which was just beyond Cantemir-Montjoie, the town of, and from there we started our 4-hour ascent. It turned out to be 4 hours if you count from the refuge to the first Col du Bonhomme, and I gotta tell you, it was certainly the hardest ascent, because I think it was just because of the sheer length of the ascent, it was just a never-ending thing. And then when we got to Bonhomme, there was another col only about 300 meters beyond that, which was doable. After I sat down, had some sugar in me, had some water, some trioral salts, hydration salts. I was good to go. And from there, from the top of the second col, we descended down into Champia, which is the southernmost point of the TMB. Got to Refuge de Mont, which is actually a working farm, which is very cool because they had donkeys and horses and a lot of cute rabbits there. The next day we entered into Italy, and I have to say Italy was really, really nice, both food-wise and trail-wise. It was really kind of awesome. We descended into a valley, walked the valley, then back up to a ridgeline, and we were basically valley ridgelining it the whole time in Italy. Courmayeur is the big town in Italy, so if you need a resupply, if you want to check out the town, if you need anything, Courmayeur is where it's at. Yeah, day 3 and 4 were Italy. Day 5 we entered into Switzerland via the Col de Ferret, and the Col de Ferret was not a bad incline, actually. We were pretty high up in altitude at that point, so it's one of the higher ones of the trail, but for some reason it didn't seem so bad. Switzerland is expensive. For anyone that was curious, yes, Switzerland is expensive. The town of La Foulie, which is the first town you enter in when you're on the TMB, is a great little town. There's one tiny little supermarket, which is fantastic, and there is an outfitter there. We really enjoyed La Foulie, and there's a bunch of refuges and hostels there. The next day, we walked to Champay-Lac, which is about a 10.5 mile hike. Which is great about that day was you walked through an 18th century town. It was like, sounds so American. It was like you were in Frontierland at Disney. The uphill from this frontier land town to Champay-Lac is really not bad at all. There's kind of cool stuff. There's some caves that you can check out. There are Switzerland is really into their mushrooms. They have a little mascot called Charlotte the Marmot, who you see on these trails, all these interpretive signs about mushrooms, and little Charlotte is on the interpretive sign, which is adorable. Let's see, Champay-Lac is nice. They have a bunch of refuges and hotels there you could stay at. The next day we were still in Switzerland, so we went from Champay-Lac to Trient area. And I have to say, even though it was quite a climb, I enjoyed that climb very much. And stopped at a cute little refuge called La Bovine. As you can imagine, tons of cows on the top of the mountain. And then we descended into Col de Forclaz, which is actually the lowest col on the TMB. From there, we continued down into Trient. I had mentioned this in my video. Trient is an extremely old town. It's been there for well over 1,000 years. We stayed at a refuge called La Puty, P-E-U-T-Y. It's a mishmash of different time periods. So you have a 18th to early 19th century barn that you sleep in, but then you have dinner in a yurt, which was great. It was a 5-course meal too. No complaints at all. And the next day we traveled up. Looking back now, that ascent wasn't bad either. It was Col de la Baume, and at the top of that col is an awesome refuge with great hot chocolate, FYI. We descended back down the mountain. God, I have a bug bite here. Went into the Chamonix Valley from there and stayed at Auberge Le Bern. And at Auberge Le Bern, that was an 18th century auberge or refuge. A lot of people, as you get into the Chamonix Valley, you will sorry, no one gave car sick. As you travel into the Chamonix Valley, you will find that more people will be at these chalets and refuges and auberges, just because it's a popular destination, popular tourist spot. The next day, at this point, my legs are really tired. If you have that kind of a disposition, I would suggest taking maybe a 0 day at some point during your journey. We're used to 0 days, especially on the AT. So maybe halfway, Courmayeur, La Foulie would be a great place. Champex-Lac would be a great place to have a 0 day. We ascended from Auberge-le-Baron in the Chamonix Valley to Les Flègeries, for some other people who don't know how to pronounce it. I'm still not sure. I think it's Flègeries. And that is the first day you get ladder action. And one realizes that maybe our upper bodies are not as strong, especially when you're carrying maybe a 25 to 30 pound pack and about 3 pound shoes. So that was pretty interesting. That was a long uphill. We got to Flègeries and chilled out for the rest of the day. That was actually our shortest day of 4.9 miles, and it was needed. I was very glad to stop that day. Finally, I can't necessarily tell strangers that I'm filming, which is why I'm staring into and talking to a camera. So our final day was a long push. It was an 11.5 mile day, the longest day in a couple of days. We went from La Flègeries to the highest point in the Chamonix Valley, which is Les Brevants, or Les Brèves, or Les Brevants, Les Brevant. I have to say, in retrospect, it was kind of a cool climb, but my legs were so tired that it just felt like it went on forever. You go under 2 ski lifts. You actually end up behind the mountain. If you're from the Chamonix Valley looking up, you end up behind the mountain to get up to Les Brevants. And it reminded me a lot of the Alta Via 2, moonscapes. We hit a little bit of snow up there, and actually I enjoyed that part. After the Col de Brevant, you go through these moonscapes. Started our full descent down after that peak, which was a 25 meter peak. Had lunch at Refuge, I forget. So had a good lunch there, and then we made our final descent down to Les Houches. I was very happy for that to be over. So all in all, what did I think of the TMB? Like I said, it was the most challenging thing I have ever done. I don't regret doing it. Now looking back, I'm very proud to have done it. I was proud to have had the chance to do it. Will I do it again? Probably not. Will I do other routes in Europe? Absolutely, if and when I get the chance to do them. Let's see. In terms of gear, I used everything in my pack, actually. You need to bring a sleeping bag liner. That is, without a doubt, that's like the number one thing that you need to bring if you're staying at a refuge. You need to bring your own towel. Please bring sunscreen. As you can see, the freckles really came out during this trip. Bug spray. I didn't think I needed it, but I got bitten up the last couple of days. Bring a rain jacket. If you're going earlier in the season, bring spikes or chains for your feet, for your shoes. Let's see. Towards the end of the season, like mid to late August, early September, you don't need that extra weight on you. I thought I was going to do the summit, so I brought all of my mountaineering gear, and I'm now lugging that. So, and it all, you know what, it sucks because when you're traveling all this way, it's really weather dependent. So if you planned on doing a summit, hopefully you get nice weather. On the days we had off, so starting Tuesday, we took the gondola up to the Aiguille du Midi, which is really spectacular. We had a beautiful day for that. You could see Mont Blanc, you could see everything. Wednesday, my uncle and I went to Mer de Glace, which you will be able to go into a glacier. I loved that. Yesterday I went to the town of Annecy, and that's about a 2-hour train ride from here, but well worth your time. It's like a mini Venice. And today I am waiting at the train station for my train, which is in less than an hour from now. So off to Paris I go, but that is really a wee bit of a recap. I trained as best I could for this trip, which included hitting all of the high peaks in the Northeast and then some. Just do your homework and follow what your body's telling you.